Welcome back to Central Florida Spotlight. We mentioned it earlier, but a startling statistic, 39% of students who are enrolled in a historically black college or university do not return to college the following year. Part of the problem? A lack of financial resources. There's, in fact, now a hashtag, Build Better Futures, and an effort to change that trend. UNCF is using its Black History Month campaign to raise emergency funds for students. And to talk more about that, we have Gwen Hewitt here, Development Director of UNCF in North and Central Florida. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We are very disturbed by this startling statistic. And we are concerned that if students don't return to college, not only are they not getting an education, but they are also not fulfilling their dreams and feeling defeated. So what we want to do is to not only raise education, but raise hope, to make sure the students understand it is important to complete the education that they've started. But obviously, without the funds to do so, they cannot.
It's a shame because they get to the school, they become enrolled, they become acclimated. This is not because of their academic studies, but simply it's too expensive for them and their current situation.
And often students underestimate the real cost of education. So yes, there is a cost of tuition and room and board, but for anyone who's sent anyone to college, you know there are other associated costs. Cost of doing your laundry, cost of simply existing, transportation, cost to eat in addition to the food in the cafeteria. So there are other associated costs that students often underestimate. So they think they have enough money and they enroll that first year, only to then, unfortunately, give us a call and say, I really can't go back in the fall.
So here we are towards the tail end of Black History Month, brings to our attention this critical need. What can people do that are watching today and that are concerned and maybe they might be able to assist a student or students?
We are more than happy to understand what we can do to help students, and what we want everyone to do is to text or to give. They can go online and give to www.uncf.orl. That's our online site. Or they can text to UNCF ORL, and they text 5055. So 5055 to UNCF ORL. Or they can simply call our office, and we're more than happy to do that online for them. Our number is 407-896-6940. And anyone who picks up the phone is more than happy to take their pledge or their online payment.
And this is a giant crowdfunding, if you will. We hear about that, and, you know, we've seen that just a small amount from each person can make a huge difference. How many students right now in Central Florida would you estimate are at risk of not returning in the next school year?
In Central Florida, UNCF grants 6,100 student scholarships. So if we look just roughly at that number of 40%, we're talking over 2,000 students who will not be able to return to school in the fall.
That is alarming. We're going to continue our discussion regarding that. So what's UNCF's fundraising goal? We'll answer that and more next here on Central Florida Spotlight. Welcome back to Central Florida Spotlight. Financial assistance can make the difference between a student dropping out of college or graduating with a degree and entering the increasingly competitive workforce. The United Negro College Fund's mission is to help with those finances, and the time is critical for young students. Gwen Hewitt of UNCF is again with us. UNCF's motto has always been, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And in this instance, it really is, because these students have shown the ability and the desire to go off to a university or an historically black college. And unfortunately, those dreams are shattered because of finances. So what's our goal here? How can we help?
Our goal is $500,000. We would like to raise $500,000 in the Black History Month to support these students. Because again, remember that this is February, school ends in May. Many of our students are wondering in May exactly what they can do. So our time frame, our window is very short to make sure that we give students the confidence to know that they will be able to return to school in the fall.
So are we talking about students without this help, they're done? Their college career, their college dreams could end, and they could find themselves in a position of not as easily employed, in a position that even though their mind, they want to go to college, that they wouldn't be able to get.
They would not. And the other thing about a loan is you must remember that if a student has a loan as a freshman and does not return to school as a sophomore, or has a loan as a sophomore and does not return to school as a junior, that student then has to immediately begin paying back the loan. So now we're asking a person who has not completed their undergraduate education to begin the process of paying back a loan. So we are not only increasing their burden, but we are increasing their burden in a double way, in the way that this student already didn't have the resources to pay for school, and now we're also asking them to pay for the loan.
Let's talk about success stories, because we have this fear and people want to help. You mentioned that the average family's income is $25,000 a year for a family of who knows how many. What about the success stories here, those that you've watched get some help from the community and really flourish?
We have so many great stories of UNCF students and students all across America, and of course, we all know the famous ones, the Martin Luther Kings, the Spike Lees, the Andrew Youngs. We know all of those people, but there are students right here in our local community who have had an opportunity to go on to school and become professionals. 21% of all African Americans who are educated in the fields of STEM receive their undergraduate degree from an HBCU. More than 33% of all engineers, that is, those students who are focusing on STEM, have received their degrees from HBCUs. So we know that we can make the difference if these students are given the opportunity. We have 3 great schools in Florida: Bethune-Cookman University, Florida A&M, and also Florida Memorial, as well as Edward Waters. Every year, these schools produce great students, but they must be able to graduate.
In a final broad, why should I care question, this is important because you are, again, they're not looking for a handout, but a hand up. And you're really helping those that may have not had the opportunities socioeconomically. And so Central Florida should care and should reach out, if possible, to help these young students who want to better their lives, which then makes for a better community.
Absolutely. We believe that we are helping one student at a time. All of us, in every family, there was one person who was the very first person to attend college. That person changed your life, changed my life, changed the life of your family. And as that family changed, so did our community. So we know that if we can help one student, we can make this community a better community.
Excellent point. All families have had the first person somewhere in their lineage go to college and be the first to do so.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right.
We really appreciate it.
All right. We can use those websites as well to go out and generate that $500,000. Hopefully we can make a difference here on Central Florida Spotlight. And on that note, we will close the book on this edition of Central Florida Spotlight. I want to thank Gwen Hewitt of UNCF and our earlier guest, Gina Duncan with Equality Florida, and attorney Myrna Masonette for being on the show to discuss transgender issues. And thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you back here next Sunday. Until then, take care.